So hey, we all know how strong the 5 stars are in this game. There's a lot of good ones, especially this one. What about the underdogs? The lower rarity characters, the 3 stars, the 4 stars. What about them? How good are they in this game? And thankfully, Artery gear actually has some pretty solid 4 stars and 3 stars, and some of them are considered some of the strongest characters currently in the game. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about just that. One of the first characters that I want to tell you guys about, and this is more so applying if you are playing at launch, it's going to be about the girl Chihaya. Chihaya is actually currently the 4-star free event unit you can get by, of course, playing the Ashura event. Not only is this girl an amazing critical damage dealer, she has defense breaks in her kit, meaning that she is extremely good in some of the high level hunts. You could either go like full damage with her, you could either go more of that supporting role where you're only focusing on her debuff, and she is free. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be building this girl at some point in your playtime. The only reason would be if you already have another good defense breaker, so you probably wouldn't use her, or you already have someone that does something similar to her. But even with that being said, get her. Even if you think that you have someone else that's better, get her. You can never go wrong with having her. She's free. Why not do it? You know what I'm saying? Next is going to be a character that we talked about quite a bit already, and that's actually Grace. And there's someone else that I want to talk about too, which is very similar to Grace, and I haven't mentioned her at all yet because she's a 4-star. But Grace herself is an extremely good farmer. She's an amazing AoE unit, not only just in PvE, but she can also be used in PvP as a cleave unit. Cleave meaning, of course, AoE damage for people that don't know. And she's extremely low maintenance and easy to obtain. And the main part of her that's going to be taking probably quite a while, which is going to be the case for all of these characters, will just be the gear process. Because with Grace's abilities, her having the passive crit rate built into her, you're going to want, of course, maybe some more crit rate to get that to 100%. Then you're going to want crit damage, you're going to want attack, and you're going to want speed. Like, you're going to want a lot of stuff, especially if you're using her in PvP. You're going to want to have a lot of stats to just buff up Grace's damage and give her as much oomph as possible. However, Grace isn't the only character in the game that does this. There's actually a few that are in this like archetype that I want to say that Grace is in, where if they kill something, they instantly reset a cooldown, or they lower their cooldown or something like that. And the other character that's very similar to Grace that's also extremely good, and that is the 4-star known as Rui, which for this video, we're going to simplify her name to just Ru. And Ru is pretty much the exact same thing as Grace. There's no other way to put it. She's practically the same character. They do the same thing. They're used in the same exact situation. Wherever you would use Grace, you can use Ru. Wherever you would use Ru, you can use Grace. Except Ru is a little bit better in PvP, because the S2 will give you elemental advantage for that attack. And if you kill a target, you reduce all of your skills by 1 round or 1 turn, which is quite insane, meaning that you could just kind of just keep going with this, and then you can also just keep blowing the cooldown of your S3, which gives you a free turn and attack buff, and kind of keep going with that. So yeah, it's completely up to you depending on which one you want to build. If you want to go with Ru, if you want to go with Grace, it doesn't really matter. But if you want a little bit better of a PvP unit, I think Ru is a little bit better in that regard. However, I also think that Grace kind of wins me over just a little bit more, especially in the early game, due to the fact that she's so low maintenance. So hey, it's more so pick your poison, go with what you want. Our next character is going to be our first green character, which I'm not going to lie to you guys, 3 and 4 stars in terms of the greens aren't really too great. There is a few that are pretty solid, and we talked about this girl before, and that is Roko. Now, Roko is mainly used as an early game boss killer because she's able to stack corrosion on the enemy. And whenever she stacks corrosion, she will actually scale her damage based on the amount of corrosion that's on an enemy to deal the big deep. She's kind of like another version of Genga, just like a really broke version of Genga. I guess that's a bad way to put it, but that's the truth. And she's really good for early game stuff, for killing a lot of the bosses, and she also is able to like pretty much cheese, or I wouldn't really say cheese, but or just kill a lot of the higher level bosses too, if they can be afflicted by corrosion. You'll notice something when using Roko is that, for one, she's terrible in PvP. Don't use this girl in PvP. And 2, there are a lot of bosses later on down the line that are just completely immune to her debuff. So she's completely useless, which kind of sucks. But in the beginning, man, does this debuff do some damage. And I think it's absolutely worth maybe building her, at least to start out, unless you have a 5-star named Sirius. If you have Sirius, you probably will never, ever use Roko. But we talked about a lot of damage dealers so far, right? We haven't talked about anybody else, man. Where's the other characters? Is this game all about the damage? And of course it's not, man. We gotta talk about our tanks. Tanks are weird in this game because I don't really think you need them in a lot of situations, but I guess there is some where maybe they could prove useful. And I want to at least add one that was really good in PvE and one that was really good in PvP on this list, just in case if somebody would like to know, what tank should I invest in if I was going to invest into a tank. And one of them is going to be Nemo. Nemo's a PvE tank, and she's actually pretty strong when you need a tank. tank. She's able to apply a defense buff to her whole team. On top of also being able to apply a defense buff, she also is able to give everyone a barrier, and she's able to heal as well. Of course, with her being a tank, she also has provoke in her kit, and pretty much the entire part of her kit is just to increase the survivability of your team. As far as it goes currently in the global scene, I don't think that you really need to use Nemo too much. I myself haven't found like any type of event or anything where I'm like, oh snap, I kind of really need Nemo in this situation or really need a tank. But maybe later on down the line, or maybe in like super deep like lava crack floors, you will need Nemo, but I'm not for sure. Either way though, I think she's probably the best tank you can put on your team if you are going to use a tank in PvE. On the flip side though, PvP, there is a tank named Della. Now, Della is a 4-star tank, and this girl is probably one of the best tanks you can have, more so on your defense team. I mean, you could use her in your offense team as well, but I think she would really shine in your defense team. And the reason why she's so good, if there's one thing you take away from this video, is this: stuns. That is all that she does. Her entire kit is about countering any type of damage that she may get afflicted by with either a slow or a stun, which is insane. She's kind of a unique unit though, because I think that she's a unit that really wants to have certain gear sets on her to be really good. Like for example, if you use her, I highly recommend that you probably go something like counter set on her, which will pretty much turn her into a counter machine, because she already has a counter built into her with her passive tooth for a tooth, which is what allows you to get like crazy amounts of stuns on the enemy. And the reason why she's so great is because she literally counters pretty much any type of like super strong cleave team. She's going to counter, because of course the more that they are hitting her, and since they're all dealing AoE damage, the more chances that her tooth for a tooth will proc. And of course, every time this triggers, it will give you more and more chances of you stunning the enemy, because not only does her S2 stun, also her S3 will stun as well. And if you're a little bit further in the game and you're able to actually waste resources and gear Della, I highly recommend it, because I think she's going to be one of the best defense units to have on any PvP team. Now, Timmy is a 3-star character that is mainly used in PvP. You're not going to be using her in PvE pretty much at all, but in PvP, she's going to be a godsend for you if you decide to build her. And the reason for that is because Timmy is all about making your team fast. She can just roam. In high level PvP at the current moment, you're probably going to be seeing quite a bit of Timmys, just because everybody's going to be abusing this girl due to the fact that she gives everyone that AoE advancement. And let me just say, AoE advancement or any type of advancement or abuse of the action bar is extremely valued in this game. Like I mentioned before, apart from PvP, you're not going to be using her. Now we're going to talk about 2 characters that I think are some runner-ups. I didn't want to leave them out because I think that they are good characters when you need them. And the first one's going to be Gray. She's a 3-star that actually offers anti-heal. And anti-heal is extremely good against someone like the Iron Maiden, which is one of the bosses that you will be having to hunt for certain gear pieces. Maybe you don't have like the alternatives to anti-heal, like the 4 stars and the 5 stars or whatever. If that's the case, you can use someone like Gray, and she's able to apply that anti-heal to help you deal with the Iron Maiden a lot easier. And the other one that I want to recommend is someone like Winnie. Now, Winnie is interesting because she's actually one of the only characters at the moment I think that's able to apply immunity to the whole team. I don't think we have too many of these at the moment, especially even in like the higher rarities. There may be a few characters that I'm missing that's able to do it, but for the most part, she's one of the only characters in the game that's actually able to apply that immunity to her team. But that's all I want to say about those 2. Both good units if you need them. Just want to throw that in there so you guys would know that they actually exist. And now, I want to talk about 2 characters. I don't think there's any 4 stars in the game that are better than these, and they're just insane. You've probably heard about both of them so much, but the first one I want to talk about is Morris. Let me ask you something. What is there not to like about this character? You got insanely good healing, a cleanse, overtime heal. She also offers advancement. What I mean by that, she's able to advance her allies' action bar by like 30%, which is insane. And she's free. She's insanely good. She's probably the best PvE healer in the game. The fact that they give you this girl right out the gate on your second day of logging in, absolutely build her. Put her on your team, start leveling her up, get her maxed out, and use her. Not only in PvE, but you can also use her in PvP. Except this is the issue. The only problem Morris has is that every single blue unit is gunning for her. And I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but there's a lot of blue units in this game. And some of the characters we talked about in this list already were blue. There's so many characters that are able to counter her in PvP just because of her type difference. It may be pretty hard to use her there, but even with that being said, she's still amazing if you don't have anyone else to fill out that healer slot if you want to use a healer in PvP. And now the final unit that I want to mention. It's probably not surprising to a lot of you, so I won't keep you waiting. That is Alice. Alice is probably the best unit in the game due to the fact that this girl's kit is absolutely stupid. Not only is this girl a supporter that offers pretty solid buffs, she's able to give you an extra turn, which is quite broken in this game. And unfortunately, and I guess it's kind of ironic, the only negative really about her, apart from she's pretty hard to get if you don't reroll for her due to the fact that she is a 4-star, is that as time progresses, she will slowly start falling out of the spotlight. But as for right now, she is one of the best characters in the game. If you rerolled for this girl, congratulations, because you made the right decision. She's not only good in PvE, she's insane in PvP. You're going to be using her on pretty much all of your teams, and there's really no other way to put it. She's just an extremely good character. But that is my list for the best 3 and 4 stars in the game currently. If I missed one, or if you guys think that one should have been on this list, please let me know down below in the comment section. I would love to read them. And also another thing too, I may update this list depending on what events and stuff like that come out and what really changed and how the meta shapes up. And as we get more 3 and 4 stars in the future, this list will more than likely change, and I'll probably talk about it and make an updated list whenever that happens. Thank you all for coming out. It's been your boy OP. If you found it informative, entertaining, whatever the case may be, hey man, please drop a like. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you like the content you see, hey man, consider sticking around, subscribing. We're going to keep it coming with the Artery gear content. If you need help re-rolling in the game, or you need a progression guide, you can click either one of these videos popped up on your screen right now. Highly entertaining content, extremely helpful, guarantee you'll love them. And oh yeah, before you leave, don't forget to drink water.